Okay, I think we're good to go now. Are we ready to go? Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to start from the top. As you've seen in our promotion of this event, moderating tonight's panel is a Grammy-winning producer. He has worked with Rihanna, DJ Mustard, and Elton John. He is the owner of Hype Studios LA, and his name is Augie Ray. As for tonight's panel, our first panelist is a Grammy-nominated producer with several Billboard hits, who's most recently worked with names such as Kodak Black, Rod Wave, and DJ Khaled. He is Vincent Tolan. Our second panelist is a prominent independent artist who has performed on stages with acts such as Odd Future and Twista. She has a project named the Burger and Friends Music Experience, helping youth in Los Angeles and Chicago. She is HannahGotRaps. Our third panelist is the Vice President of Writer and Publisher Relations of the West Coast Circuit of CSAC. He has a wealth of experience and has worked with artists such as George Clinton and Danger. He is James Leach. Our fourth panelist is a rapper and multi-platinum singer-songwriter who has worked with artists such as David Guetta and Major Lazer. He was also recently featured in the Chris Paul and Billie Eilish executive-produced documentary, They're Trying to Kill Us. He is TxTheWay. And I'll take it to you, Augie.
Awesome. Let's go. Okay. We have such a great panel here. I want to hop right into it. Everybody that's here, we're diving into hip hop. Hip hop has evolved so much since it first began. When we think about, obviously, 80s is a little bit before my time, but if you think about like the 80s, the 90s, 2000s, 2010, 2020, it seems like every 10 years we, evolve or we go to another place. 90s hip hop is the golden era, and then you have 2000s where you have, the onslaught of really great rappers and producers like, P. Diddy. And then we move into 2010 where, we hear a lot more trap. And now I feel like we're in this new era of hip hop as far as 2020 goes. Now we're fusing a lot of, I think that hip hop has always started with a lot of fusion, even sampling, grabbing different records and reimagining them. And so what I want to do is I want to start off with this question of, with each panelist, what do you define hip hop as? I think we need to use that as a starting point in order to really dig into the culture and the origins of hip hop. So I'll start with TxTheWay, and then we'll move around and you guys can start answering as we go.
Yo, what's good, everybody? To me, hip hop is a culture that started in New York by DJ Kool Herc, some would say, and it's just a voice for the people, a voice for the streets, a voice for the disenfranchised community. And I think that hip hop is spread its wings now and kind of grown and formed into something else. But at its heart, it's a way for, artists to convey what's happening with them and in their communities to the population at large, and to advocate for that community. Yeah, that's hip hop for me.
Awesome.
Yeah. I feel like you kind of hit it on the nail for me. Really, hip hop for me is coming from, it's like the heart, the soul of just, our community. We're able to express ourselves, whether it's through, hip hop is not just music, it's art, it's graffiti, it's dance, it's all of those things. And it just represents our community as a whole, saying our community, coming from the Black community. So that's what hip hop is to me. So.
ET, you want to chime in?
Oh yeah. To me, hip hop is sort of like as long as it goes on, it's kind of like a time capsule that just lets you know what's going on in that certain era of time. So now we're getting these different branches of hip hop, which seem to me is kind of going like in that rock and roll phase where you got punk and heavy metal. So you know, it's kind of it's evolving. It's telling our story for our age and now what not just I guess black people go through in hip hop now. Now you got white people coming to hip hop and Latino people, LBGTQ, and everybody get to tell what's going on in their era in these all different subgroup of hip hop and stuff.
Yeah, for me, I'd say it's a good answer, VT. A good definition, I should say. For me, hip hop is a vibe. It's an innate. TxTheWay said it was a soul. It very much is that. It's a vibe, and it's the spirit of the culture of the streets and those that feel and have felt for a long time voiceless, and they finally have found their voice and their ability to translate their frustrations, their aspirations, their emotion, and their hopes and dreams musically. And it's been able to be, that's being done by a variety of cultures now, but primarily, first and foremost, it spoke to the people of the streets, whether they be Latino, African American, what have you, everyone who felt disenfranchised. You know, there's indigenous people that are doing hip hop. So hip hop is a vibe and a culture, and that speaks to cultures that feel or have felt disenfranchised. And it's given voice to the voiceless, or gave voice to the voiceless. Now you have a lot of people that are adopting that, and for good or bad, however you want to look at it, depending on who's doing it, whether they're doing it well or representing properly or ineffectively, you know.
Nice. Well, yeah, no, these are great, you know, comments. I want to open up the dialogue in a sense of even diving deeper into hip hop, in the sense that we talked about, you know, the diversity part of it, inclusion being a part of, you know, where we are now. You know, I know that at least, you know, 20 years ago when Eminem first got in the game, you know, he was probably one of the first to really establish, especially because of his backing with Dre and you know, the West Coast influence, to really, you know, there was other white rappers before that, you know what I mean? But like Eminem really opened up like the floodgates for that. Moving into where we are now, obviously with hip hop, you know, commercially has really blown up. I mean, hip hop is on the basis of pretty much every record that we hear today, you know, to be honest with you. I mean, I've been listening to like Billie Eilish stuff, or, you know, it's very much been, you know, affluent for a while now. The question is with this evolution, you know, like I think Hannah brought up that it was, you know, something that was established for the quote unquote like our people culture wise, or like in, you know, James Lee's talking about the disenfranchised. Some of these guys that are getting in hip hop are not really, you know, disenfranchised. Like they, you know, they don't come from a you know, they don't come from humble beginnings. They don't come from the streets, but they just adopt because now it's, you know, it's commercially viable in a sense that it could be like, you know, Guitar Center, you know what I mean? You go to Guitar Center, you pick up a, you know, a software, and now you're a producer, you know what I mean? And so what are your guys' thoughts on, you know, where we are now, like the evolution? And let's just keep it open. I mean, I want this to really, you know, strike some thoughts for people, because I know this is something that's a touchy subject, you know what I mean? And just diving into that.
I think I'll just jump in real quick, and then I'll let the rest of y'all do your thing. I think sonically that you can tell the difference. You can tell someone who doesn't have, like it's like we've all said, it's a vibe. It's a part of your soul, and if you don't have that, you can try to imitate what's being done out there, and you might be able to do it very well, but you're not going to be able to sustain that success because you don't have that thread, you don't have that fire, you don't have the experiences that drive you to you know, to do what you do. You don't have that creative spark to sustain that vibe. I'm not going to name any names, but there's you know, there's lots of examples of folks that came in and touched it and did okay for a couple of records, but they weren't able to sustain because it's not only did they not have the correct team around them, they didn't have it from within themselves. So after they finished talking about whatever the latest phrases, catchwords were, themes of that era or that time or their neighborhood, as soon as they were finished talking about that, they had nothing else to say, you know? So,
I
and
want
like I said, I'm not gonna name any names. Hannah, you go ahead and do your thing.
Name your names.
to.
Well, I
No,
mean, I'll throw out a couple.
okay.
You mentioned Eminem. Eminem was successful because he had, not only did he have Dre behind him, but Eminem can genuinely rap. Eminem had the same experiences culturally of, that his peers did. So that he, he's authentic, and there's other people that were before him that, jumped on the bandwagon. They may have had some success, but they weren't able to sustain, primarily because they didn't have Dre's beats. Dre is a phenomenal producer, still is to this day. He's very, very savvy. He's a creator bar none, and but you have to have the talent. If Eminem didn't have the skills, there's no way he would have touched them. It's the same people that I'm not mentioning. They were in the same era that Dre first launched in. So it would have been nothing for their management or the labels, what have you, to reach out. And they may have tried to reach out to get a beat, or for Dre to produce those records, and it didn't happen for whatever reason, So, all right, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Go for it.
I was I was having a conversation earlier about a clip that I saw on Instagram, and it kind of bounces off of what you were saying, James, about not having maybe the real life experience or that soul within, maybe the writing process, or, just relaying that to the audience, and not kind of missing that connect. And when it's not coming directly from the source, you can tell. People can call, BS. They know what's genuine, and they know what's like, okay, this is cool for now. Like, we're gonna roll with it, this got a vibe to it. But if you start thinking more longevity, like, you really, attach yourself, you think about who your favorite artists are, and, maybe they told your story, but, through their eyes. But I mean, art is open for interpretation. So, that's what we kind of do it for, to connect the dots and connect our community. So I think that clip sparked something in me this morning, and then just hearing you say that kind of just, brought it back up. So that's what I have to say right now.
Yeah, like to piggyback off of that, like as far as like where hip hop is at, I feel like really hip hop is all over the place right now. And I think that, when we put things into a free form market like how it is, it's not like back when we were little kids in the 90s and you got these set artists that went through whatever to be where they are. Like, it is open to everybody now. And what happens is that you get a lot of trash, and you got to sift through that trash to find the gems, you know what I mean? Because a lot of people that's claiming the culture ain't really the culture. You know what I mean? And the culture look different now than it has ever looked before. And,
I
what was that?
I love this panel.
Yeah. Like, I remember I had done a partnership with a record label at one point. And I'm not gonna name them, but they were great guys. It just didn't work out. They were great guys. And we did a partnership, and me, a person who grew up between South Florida and Jamaica, and had survived and got it out the mud, and really struggled and scraped to get mine. The decision on what was going to happen with my project was based on what two suburban white 17-year-old interns thought. and that was gonna be the base. So my whole real life experience and everything, it came down to the audience. And if the audience don't look like you and they don't feel where you're coming from, and they can't relate to that because they ain't never had to go through certain things or certain experiences, it's not gonna vibe. You know what I mean? It's just not gonna connect. So hip hop can suffer or it can grow. It just depends on who you got around you, and it depends on how desperate you are to go find that next new thing, that next, like, you know, that real artist that talks to you. You know, like, do we share positivity the same way we share negativity? Because these executives, they gonna always pick the most negative, most ignorant, most terrible depiction of us, and they gonna push that to the forefront as heavy as they can. You know what I mean? And then the audience is gonna say, "Oh, that's it. That's the vibe. That's what I'm looking for. That's real." You know what I mean? I got
why
kicked
they
out of
do that? You know how that originally started? Not to cut you off,
Go ahead.
but that originally started because I think early in the 90s, and I don't have, this is just my personal opinion.
Mhm.
Early in the 90s, when hip hop was really in the forefront and really gaining steam, and record labels were seeing how much money hip hop was bringing in, you had a lot of acts that were speaking about positive things. I mean, they may not have been to the masses, they may not have been positive. They may not have been the most accurate reflections of the lives they lived. But groups like Public Enemy, X-Clan, NWA, KRS-One, Gangstar, they were talking about things that were happening in the streets. Ice-T, even before he really freaked the industry out with Cop Killer and you know, his 6 in the morning joints, they would always present their stories, and they weren't glorifying the violence. The language that they used was how they spoke. It wasn't a gimmick. Those records are the ones that are well produced, that are a little bit more polished than the stuff that is out there. And unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that's polished is kind of like that mindless stuff. But then there's breakout acts like my boys, I'm drawing a blank on their name now, I'm just rattling. West Side Gunner and his group. They remind me of
Griselda.
yeah, I'm sorry, exactly, Griselda. And I'm always listening to them. I'm just, you know, I listen to each one of those guys. They have their own distinct style, but as a unit, they're banging also. They're like this generation's Wu-Tang Clan, in my opinion. And, you know, again, they're talking about what's going on in the street, and you can accept that as what it is, but it's not. If somebody that doesn't have that experience tries to create or replicate that sound or that style, that music, it's not going to work. And you'll know that right away. And they'll get challenged eventually at some point, you know, which will end up on TMZ, and it'll, you know, they'll blow themselves up regardless whether they do it in the studio or not. But yeah, unfortunately, like you were saying, T, there's hip hop's all over the place. And unfortunately, that's because of the new mediums that we have now. And there's no specific internet not internet, A&R teams for the web. So you've really got to sift and find stuff that is really unique, really cutting edge, really speaks to a multitude of people. And there's just so much, you ain't got that much time, and there's not that many hours in a day.
You know, to piggyback on that was interesting. I was talking about it with my friend the other day. Music is in such a strange place, because before we used to think about, like, yo, what's best for the culture? What's going to represent my city well? What's going to help me represent myself and my family well? What's going to speak to our experience? What's going to really represent, like, how my words going to transition and better my community, whatever, you know what I mean? Or bring awareness to my community. Now we're in this point where what's popular is dictated by 10-year-olds. That's a fact. That's just a fact. You're not popular if, like, you ain't hit the you know what I mean? And TikTok ain't pick up your vibe, you know what I mean? So if you got literally your industry forget who say they at the head. It's 7 to 12-year-olds at the head of your industry deciding what's gonna be popular. And now we talk about the direction of music. We got kids at the wheel.
Can I say something on that right quick? You
Yeah.
talking nothing but facts. Because if you think about this, when we grew up, we didn't have control of our music. We had to listen to what our parents listened to. They bought our music.
Right.
So these kids, like some of these fans think their audience is bigger than, you know, what they probably think it is, because you got these kids got cell phones. They can listen to this music anytime they want without their parents' permission.
That's
They
right.
be at school, but they don't see the statistics and all the stats or whatever, who's probably, you know, listen to their music. They just assuming that, oh, this is probably like some 18 or 19-year-olds, which it probably is, but majority of your audience is probably 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds.
That's the dangerous thing about that too, because
Yes.
there's no filter on what they're listening to, and the mindless stuff that gets out there ends up influencing all these kids. You know, now I'm starting to sound like an old man, but it's the truth. It's like, it's kind of dangerous. We have something to say, and we got to protect the culture. You got to protect this art form. And with it being all over the place, and people in 7 to 10-year-olds having the technology right in their hands to be able to go ahead and put something together and then just shoot it out there on TikTok, and other kids hear it and vibe, and it blows up. And then someone at a label hears that and like, oh, sheesh, that's our next artist. Really? This kid is not even out of the 4th or 5th grade, has no real life experience other than what he hears his mom and dad, or mom or dad, depending on the, you know, if they've got a 2-parent home, whatever their life experiences are at home, it's all based on that. You know, they have no, you're setting kids up to fail, and you're also setting them up to be in a position that is very detrimental rather, to their culture and to their lives, because of what they're hearing is all negative stuff. They're going to be propelled, they're going to be motivated to do negative in order to succeed in life. When we all came up, we're all old enough to know what it felt like to listen to a record and get inspired by that and want to be in this business. That's why we're all on this panel, because something we heard moved us enough to be like, you know what, beyond what our friends were into, there was something in us that stung us and was like, no, you know what, I can do this. I really want to be a part of this business on some level. I want to create. I want to rap. I want to be involved. I have to be involved. And you push yourself to enhance the culture and to create the art form, really enhance the art form. And that's we're in a really dangerous place, because as easy as it is for people to access your music and create music, it's just as easy to, you know, create stuff that's damaging on a large scale.
100%. I think that, you know, even, you know, diving even deeper, we have thinking about like the N word, right? Like, you know, these, you know, like in schools right now, I'm all about diversity, inclusion. You know what I mean? Like, I want people to be, you know, a part, but at the same time, if we're talking about a culture, right, that, you know, hip hop is something really deep, because the origins of hip hop started, you know, in a sense of, you know, the community getting together, and then that exploding into what it is today. So some of the slang words that we use and things of that nature derive, or if you want to say Ebonics is some type of, you know, language or whatnot, but it is in a sense that this is the way that we greet each other. This is the way that we, you know, we vibe, like James Lee said. And I think my issue really, when it comes down to this topic, is really the fact that I don't feel comfortable with, you know, other cultures calling me the N-word, like, you know what I mean? And at the same time, the other, you know, caveat to that is, well, you are saying it, so why can't we say it? You know, and all those different things.
Why I don't use the word, you know?
Oh, go ahead.
It's why I don't use the word. And when someone uses it in earshot of me, I challenge them and ask them, why are they using that? not in a hostile way, but just give them something to think about. And I don't do it in a way that's going to embarrass them in front of their crew if they're with a group of people. But if they're with, if you know, if I'm on a telephone conversation with someone, they use the word, or if I'm out somewhere, now that we're getting back out, but before, you know, somebody uses a word, I would ask them why they use that, and to just think about what the derivation of that word is, whether it's the GER or the GA, you know.
Yeah, but the
It's
issue
still a word.
though also is that,
It's not something to be glorified by. You
yeah,
know?
but the issue is that, you know, really that 99%, 99.1% of hip hop right now, that word is used, you know.
Yeah, you can't do anything to stop the imp is out of the bottle. I'm not gonna say genie because the genie is something positive, depending on how you look at it. But let's say the imp always creates mischief and havoc. So, you know, that's
I'll
what that
play
word
devil's
does.
advocate. I'll play devil's advocate for a
Okay.
second. I grew up in the South. I grew up in South Florida. And that word was used on some FUBU vibes, for us, by us. You feel me? Like, that's how we use it. Now,
Right.
when I see a doctor performing surgery, I don't say to myself, well, I can do a surgery because the doctor's doing it. That don't make no sense. If you see a rapper and he using the N-word, bro, you ain't met the criteria. You don't got the prerequisites. You ain't did the preliminary work. What gives you the right to use this word? It's the same concept to me. It's a sense of entitlement for me.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's a sense of entitlement. Like, bro, like I've lived an experience and created a bond, and I've been birthed into something that's older than me. And we've spun a negative thing into a positive thing amongst the bros and amongst the culture. Now,
Right.
when you are a fan of that culture, you can admire a thing, like just like how I admire a doctor or a firefighter, you know what I mean? But I'm not running into a burning building because I'm not certified to go deal with no fire. You know what I mean?
Right. And I understand your point. And I usually use that example, and I hear what you've said, you know, explained to me in the same way. And there was another example that you used also. Other people outside of our culture that don't have those same experiences, they feel, you know, that they can use the word liberally. And that's not the case. In many instances, you got cats that use it because they weren't able to use it without getting the behind whipping back in the day. So they use it now, and it's not so, you know, it's like they're not laughing with you, they're laughing at you type of scenario. So I'd rather just, you know, negate that whole situation for myself, and not even go there, you know, because, you know, I'm not trying to see the inside of a cell now. I'm too old.
I would love to get Hannah's
stop popping people in the mouth for, you know, I'm done turning the cheek. I'm a little too old to turn the cheek these days. Actually, I didn't do it that much as a kid, so I'm, you know, full disclosure, as they say. So
awesome. I would love to get a woman's perspective. Hannah, what are your thoughts on this?
So I'm kind of like with TxTheWay because you know, in my music, you're gonna come across, you know, me using the N-word. I mean, when we're in the house, whether we, you know, sitting at the table playing spades, dominoes, we hanging, whether it's we talking about a book, something we're passionate about, I think it just strikes a certain emotion in the language amongst us. Whereas though we're like, okay, I get it. Like, you know, I know where that's coming from. It don't matter. It could be used in a negative way, a positive way, whatever. It's just something that clicks between us where we know where that emotion is coming from, where it's like, okay, yeah, this is, I'm trying not to say the word, but like you guys kind of get what I'm saying with the examples. Like, you know, if I'm using it towards, you know, greeting somebody or towards expressing something political because I'm angry, we understand that. You know what I'm saying? We understand where that's stemming from. So I don't have a problem with it. However, James, I kind of hear you because with my grandmother, we had this conversation, and she was like, I don't care if you say it, but don't say it in public, because if somebody dares repeat you, then it's gonna be a problem. But let me just nip that in the bud. Just don't say that, like, out, in public. But I was like, the side of like, well, I wish they would say that though, like, but they not, because they should know better. But it's just putting the expectation on people. But like you guys said, we have 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds, dictating what the music, what's popular, but that's what they're hearing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so they might not be having those conversations with their parents, or it's just, to them, they don't know it to a certain extent. I'm a heavy gamer, so I play,
okay.
I'm on the game system, and you should hear the way these kids talk. If you play games, online,
Yeah.
and it's normally, somebody that doesn't look like me, but they're maybe 9, 8 years old, and they just have the audacity, like, they just let it rip, and you're just like, there's nothing you can do over game console, because you just kind of.
Unfortunately not. Unfortunately, you can't look up a gamer tag, the location of a gamer tag.
But it should be a conversation, like, if your child, we can't control every household, but like, adults should step in when they hear their kids having these conversations or throwing them words around, and like, really sit them down and let them know, because a lot of them, kids are smart, they know, but at the same time, they love to, when they're called out, even adults, so it's like, you kind of get that, oh my God, they know now, like, they're talking to me, oh, I didn't mean it like that, but you did. So I think that it's a really deep conversation, culturally, and just
creatively.
Yeah, I would like to segue a little bit to something that really bothers me, moving into now what we're talking about, which is more of like this cancel culture idea, right? So we see guys like Dave Chappelle, DaBaby, and a few other people, right? And hip hop's base was the freedom of speech, being able to say what you want. James Leach brought up like guys fight the power, and like everybody had a voice and was able to speak and say what they felt without any type of they would get criticism, but they wouldn't have this cancel culture. And the interesting thing about cancel culture is the fact that we see it directed towards the hip hop community more so than any other genre, right? We don't see what happens, in country, or we don't see what happens in pop. Nobody gets, canceled, okay, in that realm, right? So why is it that, and then obviously the people that are getting canceled, are Black, right? There's we have inclusion, so we have, other ethnicities coming into hip hop, but we don't see them under attack, right? So I would like to get your guys' thoughts on, just the idea of freedom of speech, being, sanitized, I guess, or even kind of, taken away in hip hop, or like seeming like it's taken away, or what are your guys' thoughts?
Well, I'll jump right in. I think it stems from the power that we have. A lot of people don't recognize, that to them we are a threat. Anytime it's not along the lines of whatever the main agenda may be, or wherever the wave is going, if you're going against that wave, then you're considered a threat. It's like, oh, how dare you say such thing, or express yourself in that manner. And I think the cancel culture, it just really sucks, because like you said, it's targeting Black people, and what better way to make us feel it than to what's the word I want to use? It's almost like a form of degrading or attacking and making us feel like, you know, whatever we're saying is wrong in a sense when it's not in agreement. And I think that too many people are, I want to use the quotation marks, but they're masters of, you know, whatever the topic may be. People just hop in and they think their opinion is one-sided, and then they get, you know, another group of people to agree, and then it's kind of like, well, yeah, shut up. You don't have the right to have your own mind or think or say or move the way you really want to say, like we pretend that we do. I think it's just, I don't know, it's a lot.
So
It's kind of a passionate conversation because I mean sometimes people do deserve to be canceled. I'm not gonna front, but who
Right.
am I to say? You know what I'm saying? Like, who am I? But I don't hop on the bandwagon. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, we're all human, and I think we forget that. So
yeah, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. And at the same time, I do feel like we all got work to do. You know what I mean? And we all got to take responsibility when we be wrong sometimes. You know what I mean? So like the other day, not the other day, not long ago, I was in a writing session because I'm a songwriter too, right? So I was in a writing session for a country artist named Willie Jones. Now, I never wrote country music before. I'm not, you know, country music isn't my primary thing. You know what I mean? So I'm in there, and Willie Jones, he was like on one of them shows, like American Idol, America's Got Talent, or one of them things, right? And you know, he's a Black country singer. So they're like, oh yeah, we need you in here to kind of help the country be a little more hip hop for him, right? Cool, no pressure. Me and him actually ended up making some amazing music, and I made some music with people who I would have never interacted with before. You know what I mean? And they got to telling me about what things are like for them in their country music experience and their Nashville experience and all these different things, and how they are actively trying to deal with the racism that is rampant throughout their day-to-day interactions, right? So they telling me this, and I'm like, okay, cool, it's nothing. And when I think about that, and I think about them confronting their issues, you know what I mean? Hip hop historically, we've had a thread of hate tied in when we come to dealing with the LGBTQ plus community. You know what I mean? I'm Jamaican. I don't know if y'all know about Jamaicans in that relationship. It's a totally different thing. You know what I mean? And as I grow and I become a man and I mature, I gotta say, man, we gotta take some responsibility for some of the things that we say. Now, being responsible doesn't have to be canceled. It could just be a learning moment. And it don't have to be censorship. You know what I mean? But it's little things like, you know, I remember when it was cool to be like, if something is whack, we called it gay. Man, I ain't on that. That's gay. You don't even do that no more. You don't even hear about that no more.
Right.
And that's us taking accountability. You know what I mean? That's us taking a little bit of accountability. So, you know, we got to grow and we got to be accountable. But the cancel culture thing, I think is a hard conversation because when you cancel somebody, you're slapping them on the wrist. You're not teaching them anything. They're not learning. You're not getting to see them evolve. You're not getting to see how life moves forward, how you could bounce back from a mistake. You know what I mean? How something that you thought was true could not be as true as what you thought it was. You know what I mean? So I think we got to have room for a bigger conversation, even when we cancel people on some racism vibes. Sometimes I'd have rather had a town hall with them and been like, bro, you did X, Y, and Z. What made you do that? Where did that come from? Your mama taught you that? You know what I mean? Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
And then get to the root of it and move forward.
it's that accountability. So
Right.
I think that's a powerful thing. Oh no, I don't. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, because we get to a point where everybody just like getting back into all these corners and just taking like these hard positions on things, and now nobody want to talk to each other about nothing because
They're afraid of getting canceled.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That too.
Yeah. You know, the organization I was trying to think of earlier was the Parents Music Resource Center, and that was started by Tipper Gore, and C. Dolores Tucker didn't co-found it, but she was a huge supporter of that group, and that's the group that initially started getting labels to put the parental advisory stickers on the CDs and albums back in 1985 going forward. So just a little tidbit I wanted to throw out there.
Yeah, I think another thing is that you guys brought up all these really valid, like pieces to this, but also another thing that I think about is you have what Hannah brought up, which is like within our culture, we might be sitting at the table and we might throw some stuff out, and we might not understand really what we're saying, but when someone approaches you, kind of like what approaches you and now is like, hey, that's wrong to say this, let me talk to you about this, but rather not saying it at all, if you don't say it, you won't know that it's wrong.
That is wrong, right? You
Yeah,
got to stick them on it. Yeah.
so at this point within hip hop, the censorship, I understand, like I'm not about talking about other cultures in bad ways or anything of that nature, but some of these people, they come from different backgrounds, right? Where like, we might not understand that the word gay is not a terminology to use. We know that now, you know what I mean? But in that respect, when I think of, hip hop and its gradual growth, there has been times where you see growth within hip hop artists over time that have taken, like, understood, like, oh, I'm not going to say that anymore because this offends this person or whatnot. But they have the understanding of why they did it after that. But going into it, if I feel censored, is that hip hop? You know what I mean? If I can't express myself, you know what I mean, in a sense that maybe I don't know it's wrong. So, what are you guys' thoughts, leading into that? So
Yeah, I absolutely think that, mentorship is preferred over canceling one, If you can educate somebody and tell them, especially if it's an artist or writer or producer. Now, if they're talented enough to have made the music that they're making and it's commercially being released and people are eating it up, they clearly have the wherewithal to really process what that particular argument is, whatever the subject matter is, and maybe approach it from a different, more realistic, less inflammatory fashion. Let me put it like that. Where it's non-offensive, but you still aren't censoring yourself. I think censorship, is just wrong, straight out. And canceling somebody. Please.
That's a fact. And let's be real.
Yeah.
Art is art. So it's for as much as I'm talking about the culture and us being accountable and all these different things, which I do agree with for me personally, and for the music that I want to listen to, it's about what you want to listen to.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So like, I remember, they used to have like the skinhead rockers back in the day. and them boys would be blatantly racist, bro. Like just skinhead rocking. You know what I mean? There was people who were listening to that, and that was for them.
Right.
And that was the way their art was expressing itself. It's still art in the world. You know what I mean? I can't cancel that. We wasn't even listening to it or participating in it to cancel that. There ain't no cancel button on that. You know what I mean?
Right.
If an artist say, man, when I was a kid, my uncle did XYZ to me, and now I don't like gay people. You're not the artist for me, but I can't cancel you because I'm not even listening to you in the first place to cancel you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like pick, that's what streaming is. You pick what you want to listen to, period. That's it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Right.
I think that today the conversation should be also we don't know how to agree to disagree anymore. Nobody knows how to agree to disagree anymore. And I think it should be a conversation because like it's very much one-sided and selfish thinking as well. It's like my way or no way. you're wrong, but why am I wrong? You know what I'm saying? Like he said, we don't go to other people's culture and tell them, oh, you're wrong. Like, you should make this kind of music, or you know what I'm saying? Or you shouldn't say this in your lyrics. You're expressing yourself as art. I think putting limitations on art as well is like, it's like the worst thing, the worst feeling ever, like going into a situation and then you're like fully trying to be vulnerable, expressing what you know, whatever the situation was or wherever the art stemmed from, and then somebody's like, that's wrong. Like,
Mhm.
okay, it might be wrong to you, but let's talk about why you were offended by this or whatever. And I think it goes back to the growth part as well. But we're not used to having these conversations because of cancel culture. It's like, okay, no, you're wrong. I don't want to deal with it. Bye. Okay,
Right.
we're just all together gonna just not, your existence is non-existent now. But it's like, dang, what I do other than express, you know, whatever I might be ignorant to a subject, like enlighten me, and then we can have a conversation. Then I can hold myself accountable. But you can't expect somebody off the rip to know that if they
Right.
are ignorant to whatever, you know, the situation is.
And
I think
sometimes
part of
art is
that,
supposed to be offensive.
right,
You know what I mean?
right,
That's how you know how you feel about a thing. How do you even know how you feel about it if you're never offended by it?
right.
You
That
know
was
what I
part of
mean?
the argument. Yeah, that was part of the argument when labeling started happening. You know, artists were coming up with, why you slapping a, you know, parental advisory sticker on, because at first cats were, they were resistant to it. They were, you know, complaining to the labels about it. But then they realized that with that sticker on it, it actually sold more, because kids always want something their parents don't want them to have, you know? So using that kind of psychology and that kind of strategy, that's why that campaign blew up a lot of artists that didn't necessarily need to be blown up, you know?
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
I thought about, you know, like 2020, right? That was a very interesting year for all of us, you know, obviously with the pandemic, but really thinking about, you know, the summer of 2020 when a lot of things were happening as far as like in America. And we were seeing a lot of what's, you know, two sides of what America is built of, you know. The truth is during that time, you know, we had a lot of unfortunate killings and shootings and things of that nature. And, you know, one thing that I think really has really given us resurgence in hip hop is the voice, you know, watching people show up and have, you know, signs and, you know, their voice being loud, and it really taken us to a time that we've never, like, at least our generation, we didn't get the, you know, we weren't in the 60s being able to protest and you know, the 70s and the 80s and things of that nature. Now we have our young group coming together and protesting and being like, wow, like this is something we can be a part of. Now with hip hop, I did see a transition there, like as far as what we start to talk about, you know, moving forward and in that nature. And so how do you guys feel like the pandemic has, you know, brought us forward or even taken us
I
back?
like to touch on this. I like to touch on this. I would like to say thank everybody out there that supported our OG veteran artists during the pandemic, because they really got the time to shine and they flowers with the verses. And
Right.
you see it now. They, all those verses, they got a piece of the deal with Triller and all these other things, and now they headline big tours coming up and making all this tech money and stuff. So hopefully we can see more of our OG rappers, East Coast, West Coast, you know, get what they deserve. Not just the hip hop community, but the R&B community itself. But as far as the younger generation, I was kind of disappointed, because it was a time where there was a big uproar about workplace treatment and stuff like that. And you see all these artists coming out now about the contract situations. Meg Thee Stallion, Summer Walker, Kanye West posted his entire contract on a thing, and he was able to get out. But I know it's way more artists with bad contracts, and now's the time for them to speak up when all these companies was employees was putting them on blast and all that stuff, but nobody spoke out. But you might not never get another time like that to, you know, do some stuff like that.
I personally feel like, you know, over the pandemic, over quarantine, the music industry in general gave Black and brown people a lot of great lip service. They gave us a lot of lip service. They said they were gonna change the world, boy. They said they were gonna do some things for us.
They sure did.
They did. They did. I ain't seen it. I ain't seen it. I have a song that I wrote for this group called Major Lazer. And it has over 1 billion streams. It's a song called Light It Up. It has over literally 1 billion streams on Spotify alone. Ask me if I'm a millionaire. Because I can tell y'all I'm not. I can tell y'all I'm not. You know what I mean?
Right.
I can tell y'all. And if you ask me what my split is, I'm gonna tell you it was a quarter. And I'm not a millionaire. You feel me? So I'll just give it to y'all real, man. Like, you know, the music industry, it hasn't done enough. It hasn't done anything, not even enough. It hasn't done anything for songwriters and producers, really. Producer fees are down lower than they ever been. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how dudes is like making. I know some raw producers, and I mean real producers, not beat makers. I mean dudes that bring in the cellists, and they bring in the brass section, and they paying for that out they pocket. I don't know how they doing it. I don't know how they got to be doing it off love. You know what I mean?
A lot of them are.
And I mean, as far as, you know, things being reflected in the art. My bad, Siri's trying so hard to pick up what we're saying. So, you know, like, you know, and as far as like the art that was made, I could say I'm disappointed in the younger generation and millennials and Gen Z, in the sense of like, I just feel like it wasn't enough. I feel like it wasn't enough. Like, bruh, like, all you hear about is I'm an op stopper. Well, I ain't got no ops, so my ops is dead, boy. I do whatever it is, bruh, however you vibe, how you vibe, bro. But it's a lot of plays at work that's designed to help you destroy yourself and that have you and has you on this path.
That's right.
And even the thing that we referenced earlier when we said, what does the audience look like? Yo, your audience doesn't care if you die.
Right.
They don't care if your culture is rotten to the core, as long as they entertained. You know what I mean? So
I know I was gonna come in with the snaps.
Yeah, we can do that too. We can do that too, Hannah.
But yo, it's a fact. Like, you, if you lived it, then you know it. You know what I mean? Like, we've really been
That's the sad thing. You know, I mean, that's I didn't mean to cut you off, T, by the way.
No, you're good.
But yeah, you hit the nail on the head. No one cares if you die. You know, look at all the losses we had. Pop Smoke. You know, that's just one cat. We've had during that time period, we had like what, at least 5 cats that got killed. You know, and
I'm from Bride, and when they killed XXX,
that's
crazy. But what pumped them up to feel like, and fool wasn't even on no gangster vibes. He was at the bike shop. You know what I mean? What did those dudes listening to that's pumping them up to get their head ready to go do something to this man? Why you bad mind that way? You know what I mean? My bad. Bad mind is a Jamaican term. It means why you a hater like that? Why you jealous? Why you envious? So why you bad mind like that? You know what I mean? Like, what gets your head in that place to be shiesty? I don't want to vibe with nobody shiesty. I'm not with that.
There's very few positive examples for them to listen to. And the stuff that is positive, that is conscious, is not being promoted the way it should, you know, the way it needs to be. You most certainly can. I'm done.
I think that this all ties back to actually the very first question that Augie had presented. It's just thinking about, why is the negative so prominent in hip hop culture. When you think about, what it's attacking, and even going back to using, saying the cancel culture and, how it targeted the Black audience, or, the influencers or the artists, you know what I'm saying? That all ties into one big, huge web as to, yeah, who are benefiting from, us dying and our records blowing up, who's benefiting from, us going to jail, who is benefiting from us not, you know, building a new Black Wall Street, who's benefiting from that, you know what I'm saying? So, hip hop is so powerful, but it's powerful for the good and it's powerful for the bad. So you're gonna,
110%.
whatever it's a big, huge garden. So whatever seeds are being planted, you know what I'm saying? We got our kids. They have all the access to all of this, all spectrums of artists.
Yeah.
So you're planting that seed early, and it's just continuing the cycle. And I think that's why, it's so popular. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna get the big push from, the machine for what's gonna influence that specific agenda, or,
The machine likes that though. The machine pushes that all
They
the way
love
to
it.
the edge until they got it back
Over the
away.
edge. They push it. It's so crazy. I
Till they
tweeted
get
something
called on
once
it.
that a lot of people didn't understand. I said, when Pop Smoke dies, it's good for business. When XXX dies, when Lil Peep dies, when Juice WRLD dies, when all these people that you like, when Mac Miller dies, it's good for business. You know who you can't beat in album sales? Biggie and Tupac. Bro, people love you after you dead, bro. So once you kill yourself in a system that's designed for you to kill yourself and destroy yourself, once you've done all that for your audience, who at the end of the day, your audience ain't doing nothing for you. You doing something for them, right? Like, yo, once you kill yourself, the record label, not your family, not your kids, your record label and your publisher is the ones who eat. And they gonna eat hard.
Hey,
they gonna eat
they
hard
gon-
when you dead.
they gonna come get us up off this live stream.
It's a fact.
So let's talk about the solution, right? So I mean,
well, you know what? Okay, I'll let you finish.
Yeah, let's talk about the solution within, like our community, right? And I've thought about these topics for a while, and I think about like music industry literacy for our community, hip hop community. To be honest with you, like I started off, in hip hop, then I started to divert a little bit into pop music because I saw that the money looked good, and then now I'm back to, my roots again, you know what I mean? Because I was like, wait, you mean to tell me for the same track that I'm doing over here,
We all dabble.
Yeah, I'm gonna make 10 times more over here. You know what I mean?
And that's a shame, man. That's a shame. That's despicable that happens. That speaks to TxTheWay's conversation about the lip service that's been given to artists that last year that was supposed to change things. We got all that lip service because they got scared. They thought folks was gonna make their way down to the labels and publishers and start tearing stuff up, burning stuff down, and you're gonna have people walking out and staying out.
Yeah.
The technology's there. Augie, you said one of the what are the solutions?
Yeah, like
technology is such today, but we've got the answers right in front of us. I noticed throughout the pandemic, everybody became more savvy with the technological tools that we have available to communicate, to put shows together. You mentioned verses, TxTheWay, to do verses. You have the ability to reach your audience, create your audience, reach that audience, market to that audience, and have your career the way you want it, so that no one dictates to you what you're gonna play, how you're gonna play it, what you're gonna say, how you're gonna say it. But it's incumbent upon new artists, or any artist that's moving right now, to educate themselves, number one, about the business, the mechanisms that are inside of the business, there's no way, when I became an executive, I was very jaded, but got a really quick education about how things work business wise. You get normally in a lot of other industries, you walk in, you get a gig, and you can see the steps that one might want to take to get to, a higher position or advancement within an industry, a company. In the music industry, it's not like that. You can be, you can come off the street and be the VP of an A&R department, or at least A&R person at a label or at a publishing company, a creative manager, by virtue of your connections and the music that you listen to, that someone in superior position has the ability to sign and put out, and they're looking for that vibe. You can go from working in the car wash today to, the sky's the limit the next day. That's why there's a lot of cats that get in the business, a lot of hustlers that get in and get out. Sometimes they get in and stay in and thrive. But that's just the nature of the business that we live in, that we work in. What you need to do is really understand the mechanisms of the business and how it works, how publishing works, what a performance rights company does in relationship to your publisher. And when I say your publisher, it doesn't mean your major publisher like your Sonys, your Universals, BMGs, or Cobalts, what have you. The minute you write a song, you're automatically the publisher of that song. So you have the ability now to control your work, because the publisher half of your song is what you want to do business with. So you have the ability to go out into the marketplace, do whatever you think creatively you'd like to do that will enhance your vibe as an artist, songwriter, producer, get your music out there and reap the benefits yourself. If you understand the mechanisms that go into play with that, and the relationship between your performance rights society and that publisher, or you as a publisher, I should say. And then you get to a point where you may want to go to a major publisher, great, but you may not want to after you see what you've done independently. And that even, that stands true as an artist as well. You may hit a lick as an independent artist or not, because you don't have to do the billions of streams to be successful as an indie artist if you understand the business. And if you put together a game plan and surround yourself with the right team, which is important also. A lot of people will say they understand the business, and you don't find out until maybe 2, 3, 5 years later that they really didn't understand it the way you needed them to. So that can hurt you also. So you want to make sure the folks that you surround yourself with understand the business as well, and understand to maximize the position that they play within your group, within your organization. So, I mean, it's all very, very key, but education and finding those people that will mentor you is key. 1 or 2 people, the right mentor can help you really, make some big moves. As a performance rights society exec, I'm telling people almost daily, and people that I thought knew the business. And I'll say this, don't let pride get in your way of asking a question or not asking a question. There are no dumb questions in the business. I always say this time and time again, the dumbest question is the one you don't ask, because that can be the very question that could flip the light switch on your creativity, your opportunity, or what have you. Not saying anything or pretending when you really don't, but you don't want to look dumb in front of your boys or look dumb in front of the exec or whatever. You got to make sure that you've got people that you can talk to that, will get the answers, or do enough research yourself that you can get those answers. So, all right, I'm done talking, man. I've taken up too much time.
That was gems all day. I would like to thank you for that 100%. And VT, reading your story, you took a time of hiatus. I think that
yes, I did.
at a certain point,
The story resonated with me because the question part, like, why not ask these questions? Like, I've been in there. If you got the opportunity to be in the room with some of the icon rappers of the day, don't ask about cars or how rich you are. Ask the
Exactly.
real questions that
Real questions,
will
right?
propel your career, because that's me asking those questions actually opened up a gateway for me to have relationships with these people, because artists usually they get whatever they want, they cater to. So asking a question out the blue was one of like my go-to things, and it's helped me become an independent artist, independent producer, songwriter. I have 13 entries on Billboard, all independent. I've never ever signed a publishing deal or admin deal. I do everything myself. I started my own publishing company, and it allowed me to transfer over into the TV and film space. And I made more money from TV and film than I have from 13 Billboard entries.
I know you have, man. I've worked in TV also. That's TV, been
It's
very, very good to
insane the
me.
kind of money you can make composing films or doing television. I recently just did 30 songs for the NBA for the 75th diamond anniversary, and that was one of the biggest checks that I got.
Shout out to the Saints.
The
You know
Saints.
what I mean? Saints is
Yeah,
everything
yes,
right
indeed.
now.
Yes, indeed.
Mhm.
Yes, indeed.
If you're on the Zoom, you definitely need to take notes from these guys, 100%. And then T, by the way, what are your thoughts?
Thoughts as
far as giving advice to some of these upcoming producers, songwriters? They see the the glitz and the glam, but like VT said, is like getting to that point where you're asking the right questions.
yeah, so I think that never be scared to ask a question. Know that no matter how much you don't know everything. There are more streams of income than you realize, and if you need to go find them all, you need to go find all of them. You got royalties coming in from everywhere, and you need to go find all of them. You need to find them all. I did a admin deal with Cobalt when I had my first big record, and the reason why I personally did an admin deal was because I was getting a lot of syncs, and I felt like it's taking my whole day
just to monitor,
to approve and to make sure all the paperwork is right, and it would take literally, I could be on the phone all day long with people going back and forth on syncs and different things, you know what I mean? And it kept me from creating. So I let Cobalt do that for me, and my experience with them has been overwhelmingly positive. I can't lie to you guys. Like some people have like real horror stories. My situation with them has been very, very, very positive. And like it to me, it's like, one, you don't have a 50-50 split is not a split when it comes to your publishing. You never do that. Never. If you cannot do that, then don't do that.
Exactly.
Someone taking 100% of your publishing,
that's right.
They are not doing you a favor. Do not do that. That is not good for you. These record deals where people are telling you, yo, we want 360, we want piece of your show, we want your publishing, we want do not do that. There is no need for you to do that. There's absolutely no need for you to do that. Here's what there is a need for you to do. Put in your 1,000 hours.
Exactly.
There's a need for you to get better at your craft every single day. There's a need for you to connect with your audience, right? And grow your audience. If you got a link to DistroKid and you making quality music, I'm not gonna say that you're gonna put your music up on DistroKid and you're gonna blow up. That would be lying to you. But if you make quality music and you stack your bread and you say, yo, I'm gonna put some money into promotion, you know what I mean? If you say, man, I'm gonna utilize some of these Google services, I'm gonna utilize some of these Facebook services. I'm gonna utilize these different things. You can grow your brand and start to see some coins coming in for the work that you're doing, because work without pay is what? Slavery. So y'all got to remember that always. You know what I mean? And that's it.
Bars, spitting the bars. Okay. Well, we're
Right.
getting closer to closing time. It's 8:28. I'm gonna leave it open for some closing comments. Hannah, did you have anything to add to that conversation as well?
Man, that was a powerful conversation, y'all.
It was.
The only thing I have to add is, like, I'm big on the don't be afraid to ask questions. I'm an artist myself, so it took me a very long time. I had to literally kill the fear in my head. Like, the person that's telling me, like, oh, don't bother them, or you being a burden by asking this, or they're not gonna answer you, or this, or why would they want to, like, all of those things, like, just dead that. Okay. And a lot of the times people don't know how to help you until you open your mouth. Like, you'll be around people and you'll be like, dang, why don't nobody know this? I need help with this, but you haven't verbally, expressed that. And most of the time I found that people were more than happy to help. They're like, oh girl, I didn't know. Like, oh yeah, let me break this down for you. And it just took me, like, killing off, that fear and just being like, okay, just ask. Cause I mean, what's the worst that's gonna happen? Like, you're gonna get a no? Okay, then next opportunity, move on. You know what I'm saying? Go, dig more deep and educate yourself in the best. I like personal experiences. I know that everything is gonna be different for every artist, or every producer is gonna be totally different. But I can take from real life experiences and apply them to myself in whatever situation I am. And I kind of have a view of what to look for. So I think just ask away, ask questions, but be mindful of people's time, and don't just, come with anything, but, really, write out what you need, or write out what you have, and write out a list that, of things that you need clarity on. And then you figure out, who can best suit that. And so you're not wasting people's time, and you can appreciate it when it comes. So that's all I gotta say.
You guys want to take some questions from the chat?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Well, first I want to say, let's give it up to our panelists, just straight up. I mean, I think we had just a great conversation here, and really bridging the gap. A lot of these questions that we covered, I feel like we all have been thinking them, and it was great to just hear everybody's input on it. So thank you guys for being a part of this. And yeah, we'll open it up for questions for the Zoom.
Yeah, again, on behalf of the MESA team, we appreciate all you guys being here. This panel has been electric. From the chat, this is from Karina Montez, my colleague. Her question is, what are some new/current artists that the panel believes are carrying the true hip hop culture today?
True hip hop culture.
J. Cole and I would say Kendrick. And I mean, this is my thoughts on it. I think those two guys are definitely, carrying the torch in a sense. I mean, I think Drake as well, in a sense that Drake has probably been, the most relevant person within the last, 15 years. I mean, as far as like every time his album comes out, everybody knows who he is. I think that's pretty dope. But also what they're saying in their songs. Like J. Cole did a whole album about educating the kids, on, how to get their stuff correct. I think that's true hip hop, taking out 808s and, keeping it real hip hop. And then obviously Kendrick, winning the Pulitzer Award for, DNA, or for, what's that album? Sorry. I'm blanking right now, but that last album that he dropped. So those are my top people.
I'm gonna go with Smino. Anybody ever heard of him? He a young kid.
Yeah,
He got like singing, rap, raspy voice. Music is kind of,
he's
it's
dope.
not dark as like in like talking, but like when I hear music, I like to describe it in colors or whatever. But it's kind of dingy, dark, but sweet at the same time or whatever. If that means anything in anybody, but to me it means a lot. So, and I feel like he's where Kendrick was when he first started, or J. Cole when he first started, that underground scene ready to pop off. Just, you know, he just need a few more records.
Right.
I like Smino. I like Baby King. I like HannahGotRaps, and I like TxTheWay. You know what I mean?
Nothing biased there. No bias there.
No
Okay.
bias. No bias.
Yeah.
I would go to say I really enjoy Saba and Coast Contra. I don't know, people might have to do a little research on Coast Contra. I think they are an amazing, phenomenal group. I mean, when you think about like the essence of hip hop culture, just all around great performers, the content, the way it's a group of them. So the way that they just, you know, bounce off of each other, the messages behind it, their writing, I would definitely say to tap in with them because they're gonna be carrying the torch. And like T, by the way, said, HannahGotRaps, because we just bridging the gap musicianship and just overall, like, you know, just speaking from the heart and carrying a really great positive message and, you know, life experiences. So, but yeah, I love Smino, Kendrick, J. Cole, you know, those are just off tops. But, you know, there's a lot of up and coming artists that are on the rise that are like so powerful. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I like my tastes are kind of all over the place. I like, obviously, clearly a lot of 90s hip hop, all 90s hip hop primarily. I love Kendrick, Joel, Smino. I like this kid, Don Tolliver. I like what Don's kind of doing. Yeah, Don is dope. I also like a lot of British rap. Little Sims or Symes. I'm not sure how to pronounce her name.
It's Lil Sims, you're right.
Sims, yeah, Sims. Okay. Yeah, she's amazing.
And Annie is amazing too, if you haven't heard her.
Yeah.
She's fired. And man, I love British rap right now too.
Yeah. It's actually reminiscent for me, reminiscent a lot of stuff that was being done in the 80s and 90s, but with modern or more contemporary music behind it. So it's really refreshing to hear that and to also get their point of view, which is not dissimilar from ours here in the States. So it's really fly. Did I mention Kendrick? Yeah, okay. And,
Another British artist, Koji Radical, amazing.
okay.
Amazing artist. His visuals are very powerful as well as his words. So tap in with him.
Okay, thank you. Definitely do.
All right, one more question from the chat. This is awesome. So this question is from Aiden Haney. His question is, what are your guys' thoughts on, you guys touched on this a little bit. What are your guys' thoughts on posthumous music being incorporated into the mainstream and getting big label releases and promotion?
Post what now? I'm sorry. I didn't get the first one.
Posthumous, like after they die.
Oh, posthumous. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, that was kind of touched on. What do we think about it? We kind of touched on that. You're right. It's unfortunate that we're in a place or that labels are capitalizing off of the demise of these folks, of these kids. And unfortunately, I think it's indicative of a lot of the negative stuff that is being promoted, that gets heavily promoted. The one way to combat that is to kind of, like I said before, dive into these streaming services and really find good music. Be your own source of A&R and try to support some of these acts that speak to what you're about, culturally, and what speaks to your soul, what moves you. It's what TxTheWay was saying. What do you identify as? What moves you? Not everything is going to move everybody. What do you like? And you kind of gravitate towards that and support those acts that do that. We need more. I mean, everybody can't be a gangster. Everybody can't work on the corner. Everybody can't dance. Why those images and those themes keep getting perpetuated is a reason for that. And Hannah, I'm not going to go any further because I don't want us to all get canceled, or hitmen come to our house late at night, for spreading information that folks should use. But yeah, there's a reason behind that, and you got to think about why that is. There's a definite reason behind that, and don't be a part of that. It's unfortunate. I mean, if someone passes away or is killed or what have you, and you like their music, okay, that's one thing. But it's really disingenuous, and that's really not the word that I want to use, but that's the most polite word that I'll use for this situation, to jump on the bandwagon after somebody's died, get into their music after somebody's died. That's so foul that, I kind of think that speaks to somebody's lack of humanity. If you couldn't tolerate them while they were alive, why jump on them after they've passed away or killed, or, they're no longer with us? I don't get that. But see, I'm older than y'all, so maybe I'm speaking from an old man's perspective. So
I'll say one thing. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Ladies first.
But the one thing I will say about that is, I agree 100% with you, but like a little part of me is sometimes people are just unaware of these artists as well. So maybe through the hype or, all these headlines, they're discovering these artists and then they dive into the catalog and so happen to like it. Now, I think it's a fine line between, what you're saying and that happening.
Right.
So what you're saying, I think 100%, like, don't be that person.
Right.
If you're genuinely just like, oh wow, this person impacted so many people, let me figure out why, then that's gonna happen.
That's another story. Yeah, that's not those aren't the folks I was referring to.
Okay.
So
And
I'm talking about the folks that jump on the bandwagon because person's died and now everybody's talking about them. So let me go get a t-shirt with their name on it and the whole nine.
But the only thing we can hope for is that, the true fans make sure that, these artist families are well taken care of and the business gets straight. And I think that's the least that these companies can do.
And I think like the way I understood the question as you presented it was about like labels releasing music after a person has passed on, right? So for me, I think unless I got a folder on my hard drive that say in case of my demise open, fool, if I ain't finished that record, don't put that thing out, boy. Oh, that is not for y'all. That was for me. And that's why it's in my hard drive.
Them is
Don't
facts.
you do that. You know what I mean? Like, bruh, like,
amen.
Don't put a whole bunch of people who ain't vibe with me and who I ain't vibe with and make it seem like we was cool and I got a gang of features of people who I don't even want my name associated with their name. That's crazy.
Say that twice.
You know what I mean? Like, nah, I'm not with it. I'm not with it. I mean, fans,
That's what I'm
people will
talking
be
about.
people and humanity is humanity. Sometimes people catch it late. Sometimes people just riding the wave. I can't speak to that. That's changing with the wind. But as far as these labels going, these people that's like trying to profit off of your demise, bro, do not release any of my unreleased music. I am not with that. Unless I got music that I made specifically like after I'm gone, open this one.
Look,
like
you do not have my consent. This is recorded. Y'all know that.
You do not have it. You like, I'm straight. I'm super cool off that, man. So yeah. That's all.
Well, if that was the last question, what I would like to do is just go around and get everybody's, social, so that way you guys get, people can follow you guys. And and we can go from there.
Cool. Let me bring up mine. In the meantime, somebody else can go.
Yeah, my social it's TxTheWay on everything. So it's TxTheWay. Again, that's TxTheWay. TxTheWay across every platform. Yeah.
My IG. Oh, I'm sorry, Hannah. Go for it. Go for it.
Mine is just HannahGotRaps on everything, HannahGotRaps.com, and then Instagram. Everything's pretty much just HannahGotRaps. So, yeah, I think you guys can see the names. I'm not sure, but HannahH and then GotRaps.
Right. My IG is, that's usually what I'm on the most. It's JIMIJR. So Jimmy Jr., all one word. So, and I think my Twitter is like LILJIMI, but don't quote me on that. I'm not on Twitter that much.
Awesome. Okay, VT.
Mine is just at MeterMob, METERMOBB.
Great. Okay. And then mine is at I am Augie Ray. That's my Discord. And then also, if you guys like the tracks that we're playing earlier, I just put out an album. It's a hip hop album called Beats for Ransom, and that's on my website. IamAugieRay.com. So grab that.
Nice, nice.
That's awesome. It was knocking over here.
I was gonna say that was kind of
like,
big. Yeah.
Oh, well,
That was
hey,
nice.
grab it though. It's free.
That was nice.
So yeah.
Okay.
So, if Augie, am I good to close us off?
Great. Let's do it.
Thank you so much to all of our panelists. Thank you guys for participating in this. I know for a lot of you guys agreed to do this on late notice, and we're so that this was definitely a highlight of a panel. We apologize for the technical difficulties. I think there was an issue with the YouTube stream itself, because when Izzo restarted the live stream, it went away. So I think that had something to do with just the stream, a faulty stream. So thank you for your patience. Thank you for being a part of this panel. Thank you for such wonderful insight. And thank you so much for choosing to spend your night.
Thank you.
It was nice meeting you guys.
Yeah, and
Nice meeting you all.
I just want to thank, first of all, the team for putting this together. Our MESA team, Music Entertainment Student Association, is amazing. They are hard worker. They're just as all volunteer, because there's no credit for this or anything. So they work their butts off doing this. And I put this in the chat that, this is my 5th year at CSUN. I've been doing these panels, helping to organize them for that time. This is probably, if not the best panel, it's certainly up there, because the insight and the comments were just inspiring. And God, this is just, I was just eating it up. When I do these panels online, I often will multitask and maybe catch up on my emails and all this stuff, but I was riveted tonight with you guys. Really, it was awesome. Just fabulous. Thank you so much for participating.
Thank you. Thanks for the invitation.
Just shout out the Mesa crew. Thank you to Lindsay Law, Daniel, Amaya Williams, Sarah Reyes, and Jessica Zermano. Thank you to all of those guys. You guys.
And thanks for everybody signing into the YouTube stream. Thank you for watching.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, everybody. Be
Thank
cool.
you. Thank you, Augie, for hosting.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Okay, I'll see you in a couple of days. Okay, I'm going to end it.